Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to the fourth and final ISGH Women's History Month series. This segment, inshallah, will be about modern women in Islam. We have here with us Sister Sonia Chinn, who is the head of Department of the Social Sciences Department of the Village High School. Welcome, Sister Sonia Chinn.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I look forward to tonight's presentation talking about one of my favorite topics, which is women, and in particular, Muslim women. So thank you, ISGH, for inviting me. I'm going to share my screen if that goes well. Let's see. Let's see, share screen. Okay. How do I share my screen here?
All right, let's see. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Okay, I think I have it now. Okay, can you see my screen?
One moment, please. Let me see if I'm not seeing it.
It shows me sharing.
It shows you sharing? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just
make sure that everyone else can see it.
Right. Okay, now we can see it, yes.
You can see it. Okay, yes. Great. You can see it. Wonderful. All right. I'm going to make it bigger, but you may not. If I make it larger, you may not see me, but that's not important. What do you think?
I think we can click present and
okay.
It should be fine.
Okay. All right. So you can see me on the side. Okay, great. So the name of my talk tonight is Modernity.
It says women. Click to exit full screen. It's not showing. It's actually not showing when you did that.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah, it's okay. I think you should leave it like this.
Leave it like this?
Yeah, because it wasn't showing anything with the large screen.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll just go through it. All right, so my talk tonight is Modernity, Women and Islam, and acknowledging women's contribution, in particular Muslim women. Bismillah. Usually when we think about Muslim women and in Women's History Month, we usually think about some of our big historical figures such as Mother Khadija, Sister Aisha, may Allah be pleased with them. But I wanted to talk about some of the contributions that Muslim women are making right now, mostly in the United States. So that's what I'm going to kind of start with. Before I start, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Prophet ﷺ, his last sermon, his farewell sermon, I often call it. One of the two things that he kind of gave a warning to the Muslim community at that time and future Muslims who were becoming along after him, which is us, is to respect women and to be very leery of having any sort of superiority over one race over the other, such as, his sermon where he said, no Arab is higher than a non-Arab, and no non-Arab is higher than an Arab, and that Allah looks at your taqwa. I think it's very interesting at his last sermon that he mentioned racism and at the same time sexism, because racism and sexism are actually the opposites of the same coin. You usually do not find a person who will say, okay, I'm totally for women's rights. However, I'm against the rights of minority, or someone to say I'm pro-minority rights, but I'm anti-women. Usually sexism and racism comes from the same root, which is actually for Muslims would be ingratitude, because if we have an issue with those who look different than us in skin color, tongue, ethnicity, immigration status, then in fact we're really upset with the law, because the law created people to look differently. And if we have some issues with women, then again, we're being ungrateful because it was Allah who created women. So I wanted to start with that. But the first Muslim women I want to talk about, try again and see if I can present this and let me know, Sister Zainab, if it doesn't work.
Yes, let's go ahead and try.
Can you see it?
So it just says loading, and now it says click to exit full screen. Maybe like pull down. Let's see if possibly.
Nope, not showing.
No, nothing's showing.
Okay.
What you can do is keep that screen and then just like zoom in.
Okay, let's see if I can try and zoom it, but I don't want to do that while I'm talking because I may create problems. So I'll go on. The first Muslim woman I like to highlight is what I call the unknown Muslim woman. And this, she does not have a name because this could be any Muslim woman. And I'm going to say she's a homemaker, that she doesn't work outside of the home. And I argue that all women work. Some women only work at home and some women work at home and outside of the home. But if we just look at the Muslim woman who worked only in her home and look at some of the things that she contributed to her family and her community and society, I'm going to just name a few, and this list can go on. A childcare, driver, chef, nurse, tutor, event planner, bookkeeper, personal shopper, hairstylist, gardener, decorator, laundress, personal trainer, mediator, teacher, counselor. Her annual salary would be over $1 million if she was paid for all the things that she did inside the home. So the name of this talk is Acknowledging the Contribution of Muslim Women. So I want to first acknowledge the Muslim woman who is a homemaker, and all women contribute, and some just have dual roles. But that's the first Muslim woman I would like to highlight, is the homemaker, and perhaps maybe we should consider giving her that salary of over $1 million a year for all the things that she does. Next, I want to just talk about a proverb, a very famous American proverb, which is "A picture is worth 1,000 words." So my plan for today is to just knock you guys off your feet with pictures that highlight all the contributions of Muslim women. Some of them you know, some of them you don't know. Some are here, right here in Houston. So the first one I want to highlight is Sister Claire Muhammad. She is the founder of the first Islamic school, full-time Islamic school in 1975. She was the wife of Elijah Muhammad, who was head of the Nation of Islam. We now think of full-time Islamic schools as sort of just are normative for us, but we need to acknowledge that it was Sister Claire Muhammad from the Nation of Islam who was the first one to start a full-time Muslim school. In fact, today there are still 75 Sister Claire Muhammad schools in the world, in the United States. So it still goes on. And also talk about different kinds of Muslim women. So we have women who reverted to Islam, those who were born Muslim, the Nation of Islam, Sunni Muslims, Shiite Muslims, and I like to say rediscovered Muslims, because there's some Muslims who may have, had some challenges and different kinds of journeys and may have taken a step away from Islam, but then rediscovered it, and we are certainly happy to have them back in the fold of Islam. Okay, so let's go on with our journey. A picture is worth 1,000 words. We started with Sister Claire Muhammad. In fact, my oldest daughter, her first school that she attended was in Newark, New Jersey. She was in first grade, and she went to a Sister Claire Muhammad school, because at that time, there are not many other full-time Islamic schools. Then we have Sister Zahra Butt. She is a boxing coach that you never heard of. And she has a self-defense camp. She's from Detroit, and she's a certified boxing coach. So I would like to acknowledge her. Whoever knew that we had a sister that was a boxing coach.
Masha Allah, Masha Allah.
Here is Sister Fatima. She is a Uber driver. I met her, oh gosh, maybe a year or so ago, and it was so nice. I didn't, know that she was Muslim. She gave me the greeting. We got into conversations. And so I would like to highlight and acknowledge and show gratitude for all the Muslimas who are our Uber drivers. And she is located here in Houston, and she is a Latina revert to Islam, and very, very friendly sister.
Masha Allah.
Then we have Sister Asma Ali, a young attorney born in America. I think her family, her parents are Palestinians, but she was born here in America. So we have a young attorney. We have quite a few Muslims who are attorneys. She specializes in immigration law. So that's something that contributes to the Muslim community and beyond. It doesn't have to be only Muslims that she's helping.
Masha Allah.
And then here's a dear sister of mine, Sister Noor Morales. This is from Houston. So a shout out to Sister Noor Morales. She is the founder and president of Outreach in the Barrio, which is an organization that feeds homeless people. She is in downtown Houston almost every day. I looked at her website, and last year she served 60,000 meals, 60,000. So this is Sister Noor Morales, and she's one of ours. She's right here in Houston. And so when you have some free time, please go look up Outreach in a Barrio. Maybe you want to volunteer some of your time or give a donation. But she is doing such fantastic work, and her whole crew of sisters who are very organized, and they have a network with restaurants where they get leftover foods, and they serve the people with such dignity. She has lots of connections in City Hall with the mayor. They hold Jumu'ah prayers. They give dawah. So here's a sister right in our backyard that we need to acknowledge and also support with our duas and however else we can support.
MashaAllah. It's such a great initiative, MashaAllah.
Yeah, she's doing excellent work. Then here is a group of sisters who, not quite in Houston, but they are in Texas. Their organization is called Food Sisters, and they're in Dallas, and they have a nonprofit catering company. What a wonderful way to give dawah. People love to eat. Doesn't matter what religion you are, but they're doing quite well. So if you ever happen to be in Dallas, please look them up.
MashaAllah.
Then here is Dr. Ingrid Madison. You may have seen her at some national conventions, the Ikna ISNA. She's an interfaith leader. She is a scholar. She's a professor of religious studies. Lovely sister, also a mother of 4 children. She is a revert to Islam, and she has been very active in the Muslim community for years.
MashaAllah.
Then, of course, is Omar, our congresswoman from Minnesota, that she just won her second term with a very high rate of votes. I think it was over 80% of her district reelected her, so she's doing really well. And this is a young Muslim woman here who's now a lawmaker.
MashaAllah.
So now let's take a break for a moment and look at some hadith that talks about women. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Treat women nicely, for a woman is created from a rib, and the most curved portion of the rib is the upper portion. So if you try to straighten it, it will break. But if you leave it as it is, it will remain curved. So treat women nicely." part of being Muslim is treating women nicely. This is not an option or something that we can opt out of. This is part of our deen. So we need to embrace it wholeheartedly in everything that we do. It's the women in our families, our neighbors, in the masjid. We need to really treat women nicely. Here's another sister from Houston, Dr. Rabab Saberi. She's actually married to my stepson-in-law, and she is a dentist. Wonderful sister, also very active in the community. So here we have a dentist, and she was named one of the top 25 women in 2018 in Texas. So Sister or Dr. Rabab.
Masha Allah.
And here is Sister Intisar Rob. She's a Harvard law professor. Her story is very interesting. She is at Harvard Law School, and she studies the intersection between Sharia and American law. And most people would think, well, there is no commonality between the two, but she's found quite a bit of commonality, particularly in the area of protecting life and property, because one of the underlying concepts of Sharia law is to protect property, protect life. And so she does a lot of research in showing how the two actually intersect quite nicely with each other. And she's doing really interesting and really important work. So another sister to acknowledge. Then we have Sister Linda Sasura, who is a political activist and a firebrand. We need more sisters like her. She was part of the Million Women Women's March on Washington, D.C., and she continues to be very active. She has attended some of the national conferences that we've had with Ikna Isna when we finally get past post-pandemic and we are able to have these live events again. I hope that she does return to Houston. If you get the opportunity to listen to her talk, please do. She's very inspiring. So she really takes social activism to the level and takes her deen and to really implement how our deen is not just about ibadah and worship. Certainly that is part of our deen. We know that that is, but we also have to act upon things. So she is a very prominent social activist.
MashaAllah.
Then here's another Sonia, Sister Huda Fahmy. She is an author and a comic artist, and she writes comics about Muslim culture and Muslim life. And she's right here in Houston, and her comics are published throughout major newspapers such as Washington Post, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and she's quite famous, and maybe many of us didn't know that she actually exists, and she's here, right here in Houston. Look up some of her comics. They're fascinating. She's also written a few books as well.
I've actually come across her. I did not know that she lived in Houston.
Yes, she lives in Houston.
MashaAllah.
And then here is Sister Amina Wadud. She is stationed in Atlanta. She's a fashion designer. She designs modest clothes for Muslims. And we may think, well, this fashion has to do with anything but fashion. And I actually met her maybe 15 years ago. I was taking a trip to Russia, and I needed to have an evening gown. We were going to have to go to the opera and the ballet and all, and I couldn't find an evening gown that was not sleeveless. And I called her on the phone and asked her, could she make me an evening gown that that I found modest enough? And she asked me to send, some measurements. And I never met her on the phone. It was afterwards, and she made me a dress that I actually end up wearing in Russia and met her afterwards. So shout outs to Sister Mira. May Allah give her paradise, inshallah. Here is Sister Fatima. She is a biologist and anthropologist. those of you who do not know me, I am very interested in anthropology, and she studies the connection between illnesses and culture, how some illnesses are more prevalent in some cultures, such as, for example, diabetes. Diabetes is very prevalent in the United States because of our dietary habits. And so she looks at that intersection between culture and diseases and illnesses. Next, we have Sister Sheila Abdul Salam. She was the first Muslima, and she was a judge in New York State. She has now passed in Ilahi Rajun, but she was the first Muslima judge in America. We now have several, one in Maryland and one in Minnesota, but she was the trailblazer for female Muslim judges. Then we have Sister Jamila Kareem, who is a female Muslim university professor. Very lovely sister. She has also been here in Houston at some of the events that we have had. And then here, many of you know, Sister Ibtihaj Muhammad is a fencer and an Olympian. And I also met her here at Houston the last time we had one of our, I think it was the Ikna, and she was there. She's now designed a line of modest clothes. And she is a very wonderful sister to talk to, very open. She really is someone that you would feel quite proud to have to give dawah, just her presence. She doesn't even have to say a word. Very elegant. She's well spoken, and she so positively represents Islam and so positively represents her race as an African American woman. Then we have Dr. Amina Wadud. She is a professor of Islamic studies at the University of Virginia, and her research focuses on women in the Quran, and particularly in Malaysia. She speaks Malay, but her research is on women in the Quran.
Masha Allah.
And then we have Dr. Tamara Gray. She is a white American convert. She's the founder of a women's organization for Muslims called Rabata. If you ever have the opportunity to meet her or to attend any of the events that she hosts online, please do. She is a stellar scholar of the first rate.
Masha Allah, Masha Allah, yes.
And then we have Sister Aisha Prime. She has been here at Houston quite a few times. She is an Islamic scholar. Right now, the last I looked, she was she's at New York University there, holding a fellowship, a dynamic speaker. Again, if you have an opportunity to meet her in person or to listen to any of her videos, she's very inspiring. Masha Allah, she is a mother of, I think, 3 children. And here is Sister Abdulkabir, and she is also an anthropologist, and her research is on Muslim cool, if you ever knew that there was such a thing. So she's at hip hop and Islam. And I tried reading her book. It was so scholarly. It was very difficult for me to read. So she's one to watch out for and doing some really excellent work. Here is Sister Rasheda Tlaib. She is a congresswoman for the state of Michigan, a Palestinian American. She also became a congresswoman at the same time Sister Ilhan Omar became a congresswoman. So and actually this most recent election, we actually have 2 more Muslimas who actually are now congresswomen.
Oh,
and Sister Nushka Kazeem, she is a medical doctor, but she uses traditional Chinese healing methods for her cancer patients with quite some success. And she's written quite a few articles on using alternative medicines. Here is Sister Maryam Sharif. She happens to be a personal friend of mine. We were at Harvard together, and she is a scholar. She speaks Hebrew, Arabic, and Italian, and she's also a film director where she does documentaries about Muslim women. Here is Sister Faiza Abdur-Rahman. Everyone does not have to be a scholar. She is the owner of a food truck in New York called Heavenly Delights. And what you see in the picture here is a long line wrapped around the block because her food is supposedly so well known that people line up to get her lunch. So, and she's been at the same spot, same truck for 20 years. So Sister Fauza Abdur-Rahman, if you happen to visit New York anytime soon, please stop by her food truck. Then we have two sisters who are part of a group called Poetic Pilgrimage. They are both spoken word artists. They are converts and really dynamic performers. Please check them out on YouTube. Aisha Siddiqui. She is a homeschooling advocate. So she works with homeschool groups in the Muslim community to help them to design curriculums for Muslim students. And she's really has a very active website. So please look her up if you're interested in homeschooling or know someone who is interested in homeschooling. Then we have Sister Tahira Rahman. She is in Iowa and she is a TV journalist. I watched a bit of her news right before coming on. Very jolly sister, very open, friendly, and her colleagues speak very highly of her. Then we have Sister Farhat Shamsi from Quran and Soul, and this is another Houstonian. I think it's very important that we look at our sisters here who are in our town and to acknowledge them. And she is the founder and one of the instructors at Quran and Soul, where she teaches Quran and Arabic and other Islamic studies. Wonderful sister. If you have an opportunity to take a class with her, please do. She also offers online courses as well. Then we have Sister Lee Jabin. In February, just last month, she became the first Air Force Muslima chaplain. So there is Sister Saliha Jabin. And this group I recently discovered, the name of this group is called Muslim Girls Making Change. And they are poets and they perform. And in their performance, they talk about Islam and they actually give dawah. I don't know. I'm going to try and see if I can show a piece on YouTube. You think I can try that, Zainab?
Yeah, you can try it.
Okay, let's see. We'll try. Can you see my YouTube?
It's loading.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey guys, thank you all for coming. And so this poem is called Wake Up America, and this is the first poem we wrote together and auditioned with, but it changed a lot throughout the time. And this poem just really talks about how, because this is the only poem that we can relate most to. It's like, we're Muslim in America, and also it talks about how like there's all these hidden crimes we don't know about, even ourselves don't know about. And so it just talks about that.
September 11th, 2001. Wake up, America. The enemy is here. Terrorists, jihadists, Arabs,
The womanizers,
the monster, who's been lauded to watch out for, to surveil,
to remove,
to attack. But actually, we're the advocates, the award winners, the bilinguals.
hello,
Hola, bonjour, the dead, Assalamualaikum, we're the 4.0 students, the honor roll students, the star athletes. There are also the misunderstood. The ones to watch out for. To surveil, to remove, to attack. It was my first day of 10th grade. My first day of the hijab in public. This hijab that power turned me from Kiran Wakar, typical teen, to Kiran Wakar, ambassador for all 1.6 billion Muslims.
March 21st, 2003.
Fireworks were thrown into a Palestinian's family van.
Flames burned brighter than the rocket's red glare. America, what are you celebrating?
April 6, 2004. Her hijab ripped off and she was verbally assaulted.
But she's dangerous, right?
Right?
She deserves this.
Right?
Woo. But it's her body.
Right.
Women should be able to do what they want.
Right.
So if you can show, why can't we conceal? August 6, 2007.
A chemical bomb is thrown at a mosque in Glendale, Arizona.
The bomb almost hit 2 Muslim Americans.
Imagine what could have happened.
2 mothers could have lost their sons.
2 men could have lost their lives.
But wait, America, you don't care about our protection because you're trying to protect yourself from us. From me. I was on my way home from school and you decided to cross to the other side of the street. Was the surface I walked on too hot for you to come near? Did you know that your looks flamed the fire of insecurities within? August 24th, 2010. A taxi driver picks up Michael Enright, his first passenger of the day.
He thinks it'll be an average ride until he uttered the word Muslim. Michael Enright slashed his face. Not once,
Not twice. What a price to pay for the freedom of your right, freedom of religion.
one cost you, and you, and you.
And me? What about me? It's the first day of school. I'm the only Muslim girl wearing a hijab. I can feel everyone's eyes razor sharp, their lips forming questions. Who knew curiosity could cut so deep? I just wanted to curl up in a corner. February 10, 2010. Imagine you're a Muslim, going to your house of prayer and seeing the words Muslim, go home, dripping in red paint on the white walls.
Go home, they said. Go home where? The hospital I was born?
The city that I was raised.
Not just Muslims.
We're American Muslims, equal in every way.
I heard the words roll off his tongue. You Muslims are the reason why the airport lines are so long, you bombers. He was drunk, but a drunk mind speaks a sober heart. These are the things we see, hear, and experience daily.
And now you know of these.
Hidden cries,
Unheard voices.
terror on Muslims, restless souls,
Guns and bullet holes.
Wake up, America.
The enemy has always been here.
I just love these young sisters really contributing to their community, to America at large. And I wanted to make sure that when we think about acknowledging Muslim women, that we also acknowledge our young sisters as well. So I wanted to show that. I want to I want to end with this hadith here. I think it's important for us to reflect on. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, the believers who show the most perfect faith are those who have the best behavior, and the best of you are those who are best to their wives. So when we started this conversation, we talked about acknowledging women's contribution. And I told you that the average woman, without leaving the household, doing absolutely nothing outside of the home, is worth over $1 million a year for all the services that she provides to her family. That include any services she may provide to her neighbors or the community at large or her extended family. So how can we acknowledge all the contributions to contributions that Muslim women make every day? The first thing we need to do is to understand that one of the ways to show gratitude to Allah is to show gratitude to His creations. And women were or are created from Allah. And it's okay to sometimes say to your mom, thank you, mom. Thank you, wife. Thank you, sister. Thank you, neighbor. Thank you, grandma. To acknowledge all the contributions that we may take for granted that women do every day. When I first started doing this talk, it's very easy to sort of get the big name celebrity Muslims we have, but I also wanted us to acknowledge the things that Muslim women do every day, and some of the women right here in our community that are doing outstanding work. We sometimes have the habit of, once a sister becomes sort of very popular, she's on the news or she's in a magazine, then we want to embrace her. Oh, yes, she's Muslim. Yes, she's Muslim. There are lots of Muslim women that are doing great things every solid single day that never make the news. But it would be nice if we could sometimes acknowledge the contributions that women and Muslim women do absolutely every solid single day. So with that, I'm going to end. I like short and sweet. So I hope that you will take something away from this. And I will leave it to Zainab if she have any questions for me or anyone else.
I currently at this time I do not have any questions. I appreciate you sharing, pictures and even talking about some of the women who are in our spaces right now that we can recognize. I think a lot of times, Masha Allah, we hear about, the mothers of the believers and
Yeah.
Barakallahu feek, like definitely, they are our role models for sure. And but I think for the younger generation, it is important that they see people that are around them, people that in some ways are relatable. I would definitely say the mothers of believers are definitely relatable as well. But it's like sometimes when it comes to putting that link together, it's necessary to maybe look towards people who are available in your spaces in order to get to the point where you actually see and you see yourself capable even of achieving some of the things that our mothers have achieved, because they are certainly great women, and sometimes it might seem that all of their characteristics and who they were is almost like larger than life, right? That they were so incredibly fascinating and just so amazing in their contributions to Islam, to the world as a whole, that it can be easy to at least connect to these people and inshallah, be able to connect to the mothers of the believers. So I really, really appreciate learning some about some new sisters and also seeing some sisters that I knew of in your presentation. I don't see any comments. A lot of Masha Allahs. A lot of Masha Allahs. One of the brothers there. So yeah, just a lot of people just saying I appreciate the presentation. So yeah, I think it was wholesome, and I don't have any questions for now. I'm definitely gonna look into some of the organizations. I wrote some down. Outreach in the barrio. Definitely.
Yeah, look at outreach.
Yeah.
She always needs help, and you can reach out to her. And you and your family or friends, you can go down to downtown Houston and help serve the homeless people here in Houston.
Mashallah, mashallah, yeah. And wrote some names down too. Definitely gonna check out quite a few. I learned about quite a few sisters that I didn't know about. So yeah, definitely informative.
And don't forget the unknown sister that we live with next door to, that are raising their children and being loving sisters and mothers and wives and neighbors. Let's not forget those sisters too.
Indeed, women are doing some incredible things. Particularly with this topic, our Muslim women really breaking down barriers and just really moving up in the, it could be the workforce, corporate America, anything. We're really stepping up and owning our space and showing up. So yeah, it's just really nice to learn about more sisters than I already did, and I'm sure that everyone else also agrees with the amount of Masha Allahs that, I'm seeing here in the comments. Alhamdulillah. I just want to thank you so much for agreeing to do this presentation and for being with us tonight. Jazakallah khair to everyone who attended, who commented, who took any little bit of their time to be here with us. We appreciate you. And inshallah, we look forward to Ramadan. Allahumma barik lana fi Sha'ban wa baligna fi Ramadan, inshallah. So yeah, inshallah, these Ramadan programs are going to be just as interesting, just as amazing. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spare our lives till then.
Ameen.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.